G'day guys, welcome back to Tradio Podcast, proudly powered by TradeTools. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Brad. I myself am a tradie, but I've recently hung up the tool belt to bring you guys podcasts and videos courtesy of TradeTools. So in this podcast, I interview tradies and people at different stages in their careers and from all walks of life. So whatever you're doing today, whether you're flat out or just kicking back, we'd like to say thanks for listening to Tradio and enjoy. All right, here we go. We're calling Chris Donnelly. He's a builder from New Zealand, so it's our first phone call podcast. But don't worry, he's recording audio on his end too. So let's do this.
Hello.
Chris, how you going? It's Brad.
Good.
So here we go. First podcast over the phone, mate.
Yeah.
So you're recording on your end, yeah?
Yeah.
And we've got audio recording.
We're on.
We're doing it.
Right. Well, let's kick it off. Just tell us a bit about yourself, mate. What trade you're in?
Yeah, so I'm a carpenter by trade. I've been a carpenter for probably qualified for about 11 years, I think, 11 or 12 years.
Okay, righto.
And I'm based in Nelson, New Zealand, which is in the top of the South Island of New Zealand.
Yep, all right.
And so I've been building in the industry for over 15 years. Started with an after-school job in a joinery workshop.
Yeah, okay, righto.
From there, when I left school, I jumped into just working as a hammer hand.
Okay, what's that? What's a hammer hand?
Oh, is this some of this Aussie slang versus New Zealand slang?
Yeah, well, yeah, I've never heard the term hammer hand.
Hey, so a hammer hand would be sort of, I guess, kind of like a labourer, but more of a chippy type labourer. So, yeah, knows how to swing a hammer kind of thing.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, we just call them shit kickers.
Awesome. Yeah, so I guess to be honest, I didn't really know how to use a hammer when I first started. But the project was a water treatment facility. So big commercial site, cranes everywhere, and lots of concrete pours and building in situ concrete walls. So that was kind of like my entry point into the building and construction industry.
Yeah, roger.
And from that was only a 1 year project from a national company that was transient, and I didn't want to leave Nelson, so I found a house builder to work for and started my apprenticeship with him.
Right.
Did a year with him, and it was around that time there was a bit of a downturn, so he sort of ran out of work and seconded me to a bigger company, which in the end I stayed with for 10 years. So did 10 years with a company that specialised in, well, they didn't really specialise in one thing, they did a lot of things. So residential, commercial, shop fit outs, small alterations, insurance work. So
yep.
Had quite a range of experience.
Yeah, right. Which is really important, I suppose, in the early stages of the career, learning all the tricks. And when I was doing my apprenticeship, we were doing heaps of colonial renovations, so it was, learning a lot of the hardwood and all that good stuff, not just slapping houses together.
Yeah.
So in New Zealand, mate, did the schools sort of did they promote trade life?
Yeah, they do. When I was
right.
Yep, when I was at do you guys call it college or high school?
High school, yeah.
For secondary school. High school, yeah.
Yep.
So we probably halfway through my time at high school, they started what they called a trade building class.
Okay.
And so they employed a builder who started the class, and what they did is they started working through some of the units unit standards for building that you'd do eventually if you do a building apprenticeship.
Right.
And got the guys sort of streamlining them so they could go from school straight into an apprenticeship.
Yeah, right. So they hired qualified builders to walk the youngins through it.
Yeah, so the guy that they specifically hired and actually started the program, he was a really good guy. He so I think they can do like a catch-up teacher's diploma. So
okay, right.
He was a builder, but then he did a teaching diploma or something. So therefore he did that. I think he did that course for about 10 years. But yeah, so he was taking the boys, and because it was an all boys school.
Yep.
And yeah, just taking them through their paces, showing them what to do. I think they built little projects and that kind of thing. So that whole thing's still running, and they call it the Trade Academy now.
Yep.
And so they work closely with industry and local companies. I actually have a young guy help me out for doing work experience, and he's in the Trade Academy this year as well.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, so it's sort of like a gateway for them to get into the industry.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. We should take a page out of your book by the sounds of it, because we seem to be lacking a bit in trying to direct our school-age kids towards the trade life at the moment.
Yeah, it's a funny story though. This particular guy, he ended up moving on, and he came and joined up with us and worked for us for the company I was at.
Yeah.
On one of the sites I was running, and I was blown away when he turned up, and I actually felt quite privileged because he's quite knowledgeable and had a good few solid months working with him. So he worked at the school, but he also worked as a tutor for the local, I guess you call it like a polytech tertiary training thing. So tutoring builders and stuff. So the company I was working for were right into apprentice training, and so they would hire him, I think it was once every 3 weeks, for the afternoon to come in and tutor us apprentices. And because the way the apprenticeships work here at the moment is you could either go to a polytech and do block courses through that,
yeah,
or you do it through on-site training. So you get a training supervisor come and give you your books, and you do it in your own time, kind of thing.
Yep.
And what was happening is there was about 10 apprentices who weren't doing the bookwork or doing it well, so they got this guy in. So I got to know him quite well through that as well. And and he is definitely one of those mentoring kind of guys where you can learn a lot from.
Yeah, right.
I tried to get him to come and work for me last year. He almost did.
That'd be good. Yeah, so let's talk social media real quick, mate. You're pretty well around social media, and that's what connected us essentially. You know that.
Yeah, that's right.
What are your thoughts on the whole thing, and in that, like, social media in the construction industry?
I found it's been really good. So
yep.
It was about a year ago when I started focusing on doing more social media wise.
Yeah. And
as I did that, put more content up, got more and more connected with different tradespeople up and down New Zealand and Australia as well.
Yep.
And for me, it was encouraging because I felt a little bit alone because I'd started my business and sort of pulled away from the connections that I had in the company I was with. And so what it meant is I had, I guess, you're always looking to improve yourself as well. So I had all these other guys up and down the country in the industry doing what they do, and I was able to learn from them. And I also noticed there's a lot of apprentices who maybe their bosses didn't have enough time to sort of train them in certain things, or the sort of work that they're doing, they're not getting as much exposure as what maybe I'd had. So I found it was a good outlet to post content and help give advice to those sorts of guys and girls as well.
Yeah, of course.
And I think what we've seen happen is like a community has developed, and like a well-connected community.
We've seen the same thing.
Yeah, and everyone's there looking out for each other. And I mean, you sort of see the content and posts and comments, but man, the message inbox is always just full of messages and just catching up regularly with people. And I've only met probably a couple of people on, a couple of followers or people I follow in person, and the rest are all just through social media, still in the just on the screen. But looking forward to the day when we can have a proper meet up and meet everyone. We've
just recently had a meeting with a fair few of the social media people that make content for us. We thought, we might do a bit of a gathering for the ones that are local, and it was great. Meeting all these new people and bouncing ideas off one another, and it's really cool. On that note, are there any negatives sort of you see on the idea of social media? Is there?
Yeah, I think it's like anything. There's pros and cons, and the thing with social media is the negatives are sort of cross-platform. It's not like specifically the construction trades or social media like that. It's everywhere on social media. News articles and comment sections. People can get they just get so nasty, eh?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think they don't take the time to understand what they're looking at. They're just in a hurry to pull someone down, which is a bit of a shame, and it sort of shows more probably a bit about their state of mind. But I was thinking about it the other day, and you sort of only see part of someone. You don't see the full their full personality or their full character, because all you're seeing is what they post up.
Yeah.
And because of your own experience, you kind of project or view that person, and you connect the dots just through your own thinking.
Yes.
But not actually who they are. And so someone could see a post, and it's totally out of context, and then they take it even more out of context and decide that they want to start berating that person because they think that person's doing something wrong. And like I've had I think like with social media, like reposting is really good because that helps your account grow. But sometimes when things get reposted, there's sometimes the context isn't there. And I had a really successful post reposted. I think they're based in the UK, but I think it's got up around over 500,000 views on the video, which is sort of massive for my scale. But what I did is I made sure I was following the post, and I sort of believe in getting involved in the comments because that's, if social media is social, so commenting social. And,
yeah, of course.
So I'd go through the comments, and whenever someone would start berating the post, I'd sort of just ask why they're saying that, because I want to learn as well. Like what I was doing was probably something that's accepted here in New Zealand, but over in the States or the UK, they do it differently and consider that would be wrong, but for a whole different reason. So, and there was quite a few.
What was the post in a rough way? What was it?
So it was like a random video that I made of me using a silicon tool. So doing some, the Americans would call it caulking, but it was for silicon. It was sealing some flooring to the skirting boards.
Yeah, okay.
And I was just having it. The video was actually trying different methods where you use a popsicle stick, or you use a plastic spoon, or you use this tool, and I decided the tool was the best way to go.
Yeah.
And so it was just a montage of me like swiping along and doing sealant in different places, and a lot of the guys sort of like were saying, use your finger and all this sort of stuff, which is like, the silicon tube says don't use your finger. But so it was just a misunderstanding, because in the States they use so they'll do a skirting, or they call it their baseboards. Yeah. And for them, when they do a flooring that I guess you'd butt up to the skirting or something, they use a piece of wood. I forget what they call it, but they'll kind of close the gap off with timber. They wouldn't use a caulk or a silicon. So that whole do your best and caulk the rest sort of thing. Like, I guess, yeah, through like social media, there's a lot of emphasis on trim carpenters and that. So I think these sort of high-end trim carpenter type mentality, guys with that sort of mentality, are looking at it thinking that was the rough way to do it. But what I was doing was the client laid the flooring. Yeah. And they didn't cut so tightly against the skirting, so they said, hey, can you just run a bead or something just to close it up tightly?
That sort of explains perfectly the how easy it is for something to be taken out of context, and also sort of lost in translation, from here in Australia or New Zealand to the other side of the world or America. It's everything's done completely different, but yeah, they seem to just jump to conclusions all the time.
Yeah, it's right. It's the jumping to conclusions, and then people get a bit upset, and then everyone starts having a go at each other, and it's just like, oh, guys, just calm down.
There's bigger issues to be worried about than who's doing what on social media like that.
That's right.
We see it often when unfortunately, when we post pictures of women on the tools, and we won't stop doing that. We're going to always push for being proud of women jumping on the tools and being tradies. And
absolutely,
yeah, the last few posts we've done, people, like you said, just out of context, have no idea about what's actually going on, and they might think the girl's just posing for like a model pretending to be a tradie or something, and they just jump on there and just try and tear it down, tear it to pieces. And yeah, it's
like there's a mentality that if you're an influencer, you're lazy as well, or you're just like it's a scam. But
yep,
like I sort of loosely use the term influencer for what I do. but
Yeah.
but I'm kind of using the term content creator a bit more because at least it sounds like I actually do work.
I was actually over at my parents' on the weekend, and my mum asked me, so are you an influencer by definition on social media? And it was sort of a hard one to answer because I don't feel like I am an influencer at all. That's not my sort of vision of myself. It's the same thing. No, I'm more of I try to be an entertainer, a creator, not an influencer.
Yeah.
I don't want to try and change people's decisions on what to do, I just want to entertain and make people smile and laugh, not.
It's sort of become the definition of what likes yourself and what I do. That's the definition of it now, but it's not really the right word.
Nah, not at all. Yeah, you sort of get pigeonholed into the same category as people, using their platform to purely push products and.
Yeah, that's right. And it's their total goal is to have a fully sort of like an Instagram that's all about marketing, and like I get sent free stuff and products to use in my content and stuff, and I don't have a problem with that. Like what I do, I don't technically get paid to do what I do. I do it because I enjoy it.
Yep.
And it's just like a bonus and a perk of doing the work, and but it also means that because if I'm going to buy a new tool or something like that, I'll jump on YouTube and I'll Google search and I'll look for people's hands-on reviews, people that aren't sort of paid to sell it, that they're actually using it, and
pros and actual cons of a specific tool. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and that's what I try to keep it around is how, like, yes, this tool is this, but how are you going to actually use it, and what's the best scenarios to use it in? Because every tool has a different works better in different scenarios. It may not be that one tool's better or one tool's not as good. They just have different purposes, and yeah. So I try and highlight that so that people, when they're buying it, or like one of the recent sort of tools I've been using is the DeWalt concrete cutoff saw, the Flex Volt one.
Yep.
You sort of look at it and you think, it's really battery hungry. When would you use it? Because you could just go and get a petrol cutoff saw.
Yeah.
And recently I've been doing a job and I've used that saw so much. It's so easy.
What size blade does that run? Is that like a 8-inch or 7 3/4 sort of?
It's a I think 9-inch. Is that 230 mil?
Yeah, righto.
So I end up selling my 9-inch grinder, my corded 9-inch grinder, because I don't have a use for it now.
Yep.
And I found that tool was just so good for doing quick little cutouts on concrete, because we're building a deck, so we've got all this existing concrete in the way. And so instead of having to drive down the road and hire a petrol cutoff saw and the weight of it as well, I could just grab the cutoff saw, cut a piece of concrete out of the way and carry on. So it became like a really versatile tool. So when I look at any kind of equipment or tools or whatever I get sent, that's what I think of as when you're going to use it and what's the best sort of way to use it.
There's heaps of things to consider, like a big petrol cutoff saw, they're a pain in the ass to use. But if that's what it works better for you, then of course grab one of them. But yeah, a lot of the time, just a little cordless one, like you said, might just be heaps easier. Just got to jump in here again quick, guys. Did you know one of the great things about the interwebs? If you can't make it to one of our stores, don't fret. We can just send our products to you no matter where you are. So kick back, grab a cold one and have a gander at TradeTools.com and get your tools and accessories sent to your doorstep or job site. Always buy tools responsibly. TradeTools claims no responsibility for grumpy partners. Anyway, back to the podcast. So you run DeWalt, yeah?
Yep. Well, yeah, in New Zealand, we're sort of, it's interesting how the brands are operating on social media here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
I feel like we're just catching up to what Australia's been doing.
Okay, right.
I don't know how long. I don't know how long Australia's been like with the tool brands having their ambassadors and different influencers test running products or whatever. But at the start of this year, DeWalt New Zealand ran a competition looking for a tool reviewer. So you had to submit a review of one of their tools.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they would basically judge it and also see what the people's sort of popular vote would be as well.
Yeah. Right.
And so they were looking for someone to send a couple of tools too, and to test out and to make some sort of make review videos and just post about it regularly, or, as you do.
Yep.
So I did a review on the dual battery 12-inch miter saw, the flex volt saw.
Yes. Yep.
And I thought, well, I'll do a cut test. So how many cuts can I get on the with one charge at one set of batteries?
Yeah.
So I did that, filmed myself cutting it in the sort of the style of filming that I would do. And what I also did is I decided, well, okay, so many cuts means this, but then like if I did that, so I think it was like 293 cuts. Still watch the video; it's on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
But what I did is I calculated how much sort of wall framing would be able to get with that amount of cuts. So on one battery charge, you can build such and such amount of wall framing. So it made it more like practical, like an understanding.
Yes.
So that was my review that I submitted, and I actually went hard trying to win it, because I'd already been doing the social media thing, and DeWalt was one of those sort of goals of if the brands shifted and started looking for influencers, then I wanted to be one of the ones that was in the running. So I'd kind of set myself up like that, and so I went hard. I'd made sure that I had my website set up, I had my YouTube channel set up, I just had everything that if they Googled my name, I was everywhere. So I mean, I sort of I went at it. You got to be in to win it. So I went for it, and I won, and they were really happy with it, with the video. So that's how my connection with DeWalt started. So and because of what I was already doing with social media, they ended up sending more than what the prize initially was. So
okay, right.
We got a sort of an ongoing kind of partnership thing happening, and it's still developing, and and I don't mind talking about it. I think everyone that follows me knows what's happening there, and
should be proud of it and flaunt it. Why not? You won it, and you get to work with him. That's a great thing.
Yeah, and it's cool because I mean, like, I guess like I live in a we call it a city, but it's a small city, and it's not one of the main centres. So like your Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch. So even the DeWalt rep services like a whole like other towns and cities further south, and so we only see him occasionally. So it's kind of cool that like he's in town this week, so I pop along to his things, catch up, and then you get like all the different guys on social media that run DeWalt tools. So there's new connections made with guys like that. It just opens up a whole another realm on social media.
Yep. It's an amazing connector of people, eh? It's really cool. I've only just sort of started seeing it. My social media was kind of impersonal on my own channels, not for TradeTools, but my own channels was fairly impersonal. I didn't have the time, working full time as well, to get involved with it and try and develop relationships through it. But now with TradeTools, I get more time to do it, and it's it's amazing how well it's brought a whole bunch of people together.
Yeah, and it does take a lot of time, eh? Like if you don't interact and you don't do anything, then you don't the connections don't grow. But
yep,
like I mean, like I've got a family and that, so I've got to be mindful that I'm giving them the attention as well. And my wife's pretty good at reminding me and saying, "Hey, you can put your phone down now." It's like, oh yeah. Yep, probably should.
My missus reminds me too. Oh, it might be time to put the phone down there, buddy. Yeah, well, let's. I know this conversation was bound to do it. We're gonna talk about the real stuff for a minute. Mental health, mate. I know you've had your own experience with it, first-hand experience with mental health, and you just take the reins here, mate. I'll let you lead the conversation into it. Yeah,
sure thing. So back in 2017, I took on an apprentice.
Yep.
And I'd known him since he was a young kid, actually, and known him for for a while. And it was quite exciting taking him on, because when he was 13 and I was still working for the company I was working for, actually I was doing some work at his school, and he sort of hit me up and goes, you should start your own business, and when I finish school I'll come and work for you. So like had this really good connection with him, and he's a great kid, like full of energy and like just loved sort of, giving things his full sort of energy, and just would go hard at it. And so took him on, and he was working for us for 6 months, and he was doing really well. Started in his apprenticeship, so he got him signed up. Started his apprenticeship.
Yep.
And it was interesting because it sort of hit this place in his life where he felt like everything was coming together, like he felt like it was all starting to work out. So he was 19.
Yeah.
And he had a girlfriend, and then at that point of time we were contracting to another company, giving them a hand, and he messaged me one night and he said he'd been dumped by his girlfriend, and I sort of I knew that was going to be really hard for him, because I knew how much he really liked this girl, and so I sort of thought, okay, we're going to have to sort of carry him through this, and we'll get him there, sort of thing. And I sort of caught up with him a couple of times in the next few days, and but unfortunately it just sort of got too much for him, and I got the phone call to say that he was gone, and he'd taken his own life. So probably the worst phone call I've ever had.
Yeah, of course.
And like it was just, well, as soon as I got the phone call and someone said that he'd passed away, I knew exactly what had happened. They didn't tell me. They just said, apparently, they said he's passed away, and they didn't know much detail. They said, look, I'll get back to you, and because it was through a mutual friend, they said, I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and I knew what had happened, and obviously 2 hours later, a bit more information, and it was confirmed, and I guess it's just horrible. Like, it's horrible, because I mean that particular year, I went to 5 funerals, and some of them were for illness and that, and you kind of have there's a reason, but with suicide, it's really hard to resolve that reason.
Yes.
So that hit us really hard, and like I said, I went to those 5 other funerals. One of them was actually my mother-in-law's funeral at the start of the year. So she had a short battle with cancer and passed away.
Okay, right.
At the start of that year. We sort of so we dealt with that. So we there's nothing you can do. So all we could get in and do was support his mum and support his family, and so we had the follow through of all that, and it was that whole week. I basically spent most of that following week at his mum's house with the family, and his family would just, all of them, they just wanted to know what he was like. So I had to I sort of had to just basically share what he'd been like for the last 6 months, and remind them
trying to piece it all together to try and make sense of it.
And I sort of had to explain to them that he may have done this right now, but the last 6 months has been the best 6 months he's had in his life. So it was kind of trying to help support them and help them understand and help myself understand. But the knock-on effect of all that is obviously, like, they use the phrase that it's the ripple effect.
Yep.
And I kind of think that's a bit too lightweight, because when you think of ripples, you think of a stone in a pond or something.
Yeah.
I think it's more like a meteorite hitting a planet, and it's leaving a massive crater and a huge mess. I think that sort of explains it a lot better. And it,
I agree completely.
Yep. Because it leaves a massive hole, and you don't realise until someone that close, someone who's part of your day to day, how much effect it actually has until they're removed completely, just out of nowhere. And but for the following weeks, like, I took about 3 weeks off from work, and then over the next 3 months, I had to cancel all the jobs because I couldn't do them. So it was just sort of odd jobs for about 3 or 4 months following.
Yeah.
But there was like a transition. So when I was trying to price a job, I would think of Jordan in my pricing as I normally would, but then I sort of like catch myself and I'm like, well, far out, he's not here anymore. Or even something as simple as you see a meme come up on social media, and we would proactively tag each other all the time.
Yep.
And you see a meme and you go to start writing his name and you're like, the guy's gone. And it took weeks to get out of that. But for me, it actually took quite a long time to fully get over what happened. And I think what it was is losing my mother-in-law at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And then going through, and we did a particular job midway through that year, and I made quite a big loss on that job. So I had that sort of business pressure and stress as well. And it's almost like I was sort of notching down each time. And then when I lost Jordan, it was like that kind of real like gut punch that sort of kind of just knocked me off. And it's not really a story I've shared much about. But for me, moving forward, it was like there was a constant sort of just heading downwards, but not realizing.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So like,
yep.
And I think it's like all the grief and that, but also the disappointments, like constant disappointments that happened, and losing the jobs after losing Jordan as well. So not having that much work lined up. I managed to pull a few jobs together, but what was happening is like mentally for me, I used to be really quite, well, I am again, but a sharp thinker, and I could carry multiple things on my mind at once.
Yep.
So when I was like a foreman at this other company, at one point, I had three jobs running that I was checking on guys on those different jobs, and that was fine. I loved it. It was a real challenge, and it was just how I rolled. But after losing Jordan, I could barely manage one sort of job, and
Of course, yeah, it's sort of consuming your thoughts a bit.
Yeah, and it was sort of like, it was very subtle and gradual that I didn't notice it was happening until I got to a point where I was starting to even feel physical sort of pain about upcoming jobs or upcoming events. I felt that kind of like, that there was more of a desire not to do something than to do it. So, it was kind of, yeah. And I was just like obviously feeling really down, but, and you just weren't sort of like enjoying the moments like you should, and feeling quite stink because, you got your family, got the kids growing and that, and you feel like you're missing out on that real depth of connecting with them.
Yes. Yeah.
No, so I mean, it gradually got worse, and there was like probably a week or two there where I couldn't even leave the house. Like I got to the point where I sort of, my motivation was completely gone. I felt like I was completely stuffed, and then even on top of that, the worry of like, wow, I can't do my job, I can't do what I want to do, like my goals in life, I can't see them being achieved.
Yep.
Feeling like this, and I couldn't really feel a way to, or think of a way to get out of it. And and there's a lot of pressure on my wife as well, because she was seeing it happen.
Yeah.
And she didn't know what to do either. And I didn't want people to know either, because you sort of, you got a business and that, you don't want people to think, well, this guy's incapable of doing the work sort of thing. So I says, no, you just got to keep it quiet, I'll be fine. And I was doing that for a bit, which obviously wasn't helping. And then one day, and this is a thing that, like, and it's become a big thing of what I've chosen to sort of promote and push through my social media is, I don't believe that people that are in a like a hard state with a mentally not doing well, I don't believe that there should be pressure on them to speak up themselves. I think if they can speak up, that's definitely, like, it should be encouraged, and that's like part of it, and part of the awareness that it's okay to say you're not okay, which is absolutely 100% awesome. But I don't feel like it's like in my scenario, I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want people to know, because I didn't want people's thinking to shift about me. I wanted people to keep thinking the same thing about me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And so then that creates more worry, because you're worried if people find out, then they'll think differently of you. So it's that kind of barrier, I think, that people have for speaking up. So what I kind of push for and advocate for is that people would, if they see someone going through a crisis, that they would go straight to them and just say, hey, are you okay? No, seriously, are you okay? Let's go and hang out. So it's more of a proactive behaviour and awareness of what other people are going through.
Yes.
Because for me, what happened is what actually got me out of that sort of state was I caught up with a friend. I think we were in an event somewhere, and he saw me and we caught up, and I hadn't seen him for months, and he asked me how things are going, and I says, it's it's good. And then he sort of looked at me and says, how you been? How you been since what happened with Jordan? And I think I actually broke down.
Yeah. And
so he knew that it wasn't good. Sorry, just give me a second.
Yeah, you're right, mate.
So he just asked me to sort of explain what's been going on, and I was sort of saying to him, look, I just can't think of too many things at once. I can't focus on and get motivated to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And this particular friend, years ago, he actually went through a mental breakdown and that kind of thing. So luckily, like he was kind of well resourced in what to sort of say to me at the time. But it was along the lines of, he said, look, mate, your brain's a bit like a computer, and it's jammed up right now, and it's like it's crashed, and you need to reboot it. And I think what I was trying to do was trying to force my way through thinking that my usual way of approaching life and thinking was working.
Yes.
But it wasn't. It had all sort of jammed up.
Yep.
And he says, you just got to stop. You got to look at your life and you got to stop doing a whole bunch of stuff that you can't do anymore. You just got to stop it. Some of the things, the way you go about things, just stop. And he said, and you got to focus on, like, what is it that you really want to do in life? Like, what are you really wanting to do?
Yep.
And so that's really all the conversation was. And I think, to be honest, that a couple of weeks of not wanting to leave the house was sort of just after that. But
yep.
But in that time, I guess it's that soul searching thing where I was like, sort of looking at, like, right, okay, what do I really want to do, and what do I want to stop doing? And like for me, I started reading up on willpower. So you're sort of like just like how over time, through disappointment and that, it can get depleted. So you end up with like very low willpower, and so you don't, like, I could work if I had to, I could work a 16-hour day and get the job done. Yep. But I was barely getting in a 6-hour day.
Yeah, right.
About that time, and I just couldn't do any more.
Yep.
And it was like that willpower had been depleted, and I sort of read up on ways to kind of build that back up. So I had to stop trying to do what I was normally doing.
Yeah.
And I had to like I had to shrink my life down into small, tiny goals.
Okay, right.
Of things to do to build myself back up. And so I sort of spent that kind of 2 weeks to a month from that point to kind of like build myself back up again. And it was simple things like tidying up a drawer. So opening a drawer and organising it. And then once it was organised, you get that sudden hit of like, wow, I just achieved something. And it sounds so ridiculous, but
it doesn't sound ridiculous to me, at least, at all. I've been talking with the missus recently, and we're sort of going through a bit of a battle with the kids, sort of thing, and attention and all this stuff, and there seemed to be driving a little bit of a wedge between us, and it sort of got her down and a bit low at the moment, and that's sort of the advice I gave her too. Stop trying to achieve everything. Stop trying to like picture all the big stuff, and just focus on smaller things that are easier to achieve. And then instead of your brain giving you bad feelings all the time, you're actually getting small rewards from your brain, and building on that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and for me, it helped massively. Like, I gradually built up more and more. I took on bigger tasks.
Yep.
And I actually knew I had a recurring client who was wanting me to build like a bathroom and a sleep out sort of thing for them. So I knew that was coming up.
Yep.
And they were getting that they had the designer doing the designs, and the council had to do the permits and that.
Yeah.
And I knew it was coming up, and I was in a bit of a panic as well, because I thought, man, I'm not in a state to be able to do that, but I need to do that job. So I guess it put a little bit of demand on myself to come right, you know. So so I gradually built myself up, and then, you know, obviously took on the bigger tasks. And yeah, when I started that job, it wasn't 100%.
Yep.
But I was it's like I said before, how I had that kind of painful feeling of not wanting to do something that didn't exist anymore.
Yes. Okay.
You know, and it's sort of like I was, you know, still building up, but I'd sort of had this new kind of excitement about my goals and
Yep.
and about what I was moving towards. And it's funny because it did coincide with my decision to do more social media, and that was one of the things I wanted to do, was content creation, and it kind of all tied in. It's bizarre, all the timing of it, but yeah, so that's what I put more effort into. And it was a year ago yesterday where I actually posted my first post with that in mind.
Okay, right.
And I was helping another friend, and it was actually of a balustrade post, so it was a post of a balustrade post.
Yeah.
And I posted that up, and it had a huge response, and you know, I thought, wow, that's cool. This is really what I want to do. And it's sort of like the growth in social media has coincided with my personal growth as well.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And as I'm figuring things out, I'm able to put it out on social media and help people as well. So it's kind of like this, yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. So have you done any videos or content in regards to how you, let's say, sort of fell and then built yourself back up, or is that something that you really haven't discussed or made?
So I think this is the first time that I've publicly discussed it, like in depth like that. I have discussed it behind the scenes with a handful of people, and sort of, you know, to help them as well, to help them with what I've learnt. So definitely, if I see someone struggling on social media, or in real life, of course, but in social media, they might post something, so I'll get in there and I'll have a conversation with them, because, you know, the things that I've learnt and still learning, I'm able to pass those on. Yeah,
for sure.
Where I can,
because it's a shocking feeling, that feeling of helplessness, you know. And if you have some sort of way to try and help someone else through it, that's what it's all about, you know, to pass on what you've learnt, and you know, that way hopefully they don't have to do all the same steps that you had to learn for yourself.
That's right. And I was lucky to have a friend that actually asked me if I was doing all right, and I think that's why I'm so motivated for my message to say, you know, you got to watch out for your mates, and if you don't think they're doing all right, or they're going through a crisis, you know, and it's not it doesn't mean that if someone's going through a crisis that, you know, they're at a point where they want to take their life. Like for me personally, at that time I did think to myself, like, I didn't think I wanted to take my own life or anything. That wasn't an option. And I thought to myself, man, like, for someone to be so low that they'd be so desperate to do that must have been low, you know. And but yeah, I guess for me, luckily I had that friend that was able to just say, hey man, you know, are you actually okay? And that's why I push it. I say that's the thing that helped me. So that's the biggest message that I like to get across.
I actually recently had one of my old mates. He done the same thing. He took his own life, and yeah, no one really seen the signs or anything, you know, to sort of warn us of it. And yeah, same sort of thing. If only someone had have asked him that, you know, and actually managed to break that barrier, it would have been, you know, it could have been a whole different story.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, I mean, I look back and I think, you know, did I do enough? And you do. Like, you can't. It's not always healthy to think that, but you do think it. And I had a phone conversation with him the day before he did it, and we were talking on the phone, and he was, because I just got a new logo made up, and I was talking about getting some t-shirts printed, and he's like, hey, you should check out these t-shirts or this brand of shirt, because he used to like to dress up tidily, which was really cool. Like as a boss, having an apprentice that wants to look tidy and sharp on site, it's a bonus.
For sure.
But so he's saying, make sure you check out these shirts, and then like we've got our own block that we're going to be building on sometime in the short term, and I thought it would be that following year, and he was looking forward to it. And in that conversation the day before he did it, even though he'd been contemplating it for the last 2 days, he said, I can't wait to help you build your house next year.
Yeah, right.
And that's the thing, like you just don't know like the full struggle inside someone's mind, and often they will try and deflect it off. And you know some of these sort of famous cases in the past year or so, where I think I saw a post on Facebook where some of their family members had posted their last conversations with them, and they were talking about future events and future goals that they had, and then the next day they're taking their own life, and that's the thing, like you just don't know what crisis will tip someone over the edge, and you don't know like in the studies that they've done, and especially one released in New Zealand recently, there was always contributing factors, like there was multiple things going on, but there was always one thing that was the thing that triggered it basically. And actually in that study they found that about 50% roughly was because of relationship breakdowns.
Yes.
So I guess that's something to really take note of, is if you got guys you're working with or working for you, if they're going through a hard time with the missus, or the other way around, but it is the majority is guys.
Yep.
To really just sort of take note of how they're doing, because it just might just be enough to tip them over the edge. Yep.
So you're trying to push for people as a mate, to ask that question more often. Not how are you going, but are you okay? Are you happy?
Yeah, that's right. And also sort of something I'm kind of working on behind the scenes with a couple of organisations too. I'm trying to maybe try and formalise something that is maybe a way of like sort of like it's easy to say, hey, go and ask your mate how they're doing, but like it can be a hard thing to do. It can be a hard conversation to start, and but thinking about practical ways that people can I guess facilitate a conversation. So it might be a case of at smogo time, hey, you might notice someone's not doing okay. It's like, hey, let's go for a walk down the shop, buy you a pie, and then you have that conversation, and you sort of pull them away from the work side a little bit, and then ask them how they're doing, and then also what to do if someone does turn around and sort of say that they're not doing well as well. So
it's a pretty intimidating thought to go headfirst into a conversation that pretty aware that might end up in a real deep place like that. For a lot of people, myself included, that's a hard thing to fathom. I'm just not sure how to handle a conversation like this.
That's right, and it would be a case of and I remember this from the company I used to be at, and there was a the health and safety, like obviously mental health is part of health and safety, and there was a conversation about what to do when a worker is struggling on site or something like that, and they didn't really have an answer back then. One of the concerns was someone said, look, we're not counsellors, we don't have any skills to handle that. And I think that's where I guess that some of the maybe the training or whatever that we might achieve, what I'm wanting to do, might help with helping not to take the conversation too far, but far enough that it gets the person connected to the help that they need.
Yep.
Because again, that study that was released, I think at least 50% had never had a mental health diagnosis. So they'd never been connected to anyone that could actually officially help them.
Yep.
And so I think the conversations, if they naturally go deep, then that's a bonus. It's helpful, but as long as someone's just finding out if someone's not actually doing well and really needs the professional help, but also the kind of the system in place that they can access, so that the person finds out they're not doing well, they could they maybe ring their their supplier or their merchant that they get all their timber from that say, hey, look, we've got a guy that needs some help in this area. Have you got a phone number? So that they may have a list of phone numbers that they can just pass on. So I guess there's privacy things in amongst it too. So it's sort of it can be a tricky one to navigate, but that's what I was sort of trying to think through and work with some different organisations for, and create something that's not so complicated and intimidating.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's admirable, mate. Good on you. We need more people trying to do it, eh?
Yeah, I think so. And that's a positive with social media is more and more people are starting to share their stories, and people aren't feeling so alone in their struggles. I think that's a big thing, and they get that sense of community and the community support too. So it does naturally happen through that, which is good, which is a bonus.
Yeah, there's definitely good signs of progression. It's as slowly as it's moving along, at least it seems to be moving in the right direction. People are starting to talk about all this sort of stuff without it being so taboo.
That's right.
Well, what do you say we lighten up this conversation?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, what I had in mind, right, is I'll say some Aussie slang, see if you know what it means, and vice versa.
Alrighty, let's do it.
Just got to jump in with a quick info break. Be sure to check out TradeTools' social pages on Snapchat, Facebook, Insta and YouTube. We're always running cool giveaways and posting content to entertain and inform. So TradeTools on the socials, guys. Treat yourselves. Anyway, back to the podcast. All right. I have no idea how much New Zealanders know about our term. You probably know most of them. But anyway, let's have a go. We'll start it off pretty easy. So, what someone's doing when they're on smoko?
Yep. Yeah, we know what smoko is.
Excellent. What about someone doing a Yui?
Doing a U-turn?
Yep. All right.
Sweet.
Right. Yeah, you give me a couple? I reckon you'll be able to throw me pretty easy.
Okay. Well, we got you before with hammerhand, obviously, and I actually had to Google some of these just to jot my memory. But do you know what chuddy is?
Oh, chuddy?
Chuddy.
Nah.
Chuddy.
All right, can you use it in a sentence?
I got bad breath, so I'm going to chew on some chuddy.
Chewing gum, is it? Chuddy.
Yep. Mate, you got some chuddy? Oh, yeah, bro. Hey, mate, you want some chuddy? Oh, yep, sweet.
Yeah, right. We call it chewy. Yeah, chewy.
Chewy. It's like Chewbacca.
Yeah. Do you know what DAX are? DAX.
DAX?
Yeah.
That's your underwear, eh?
Nah, pants, yeah.
Oh, your pants, just pants?
Yeah, pants. Well,
okay. Drop your DAX. Yeah, drop your DAX. Yeah. I don't know why I thought underwear.
What about if something's a bit iffy?
If it's a bit iffy? Yeah, it's not sort of, yeah. I know what I mean, yeah.
All right, obviously you know what thongs are.
Thongs?
Thongs, yeah.
I don't know. Do you know what jandals are?
Yeah, well, thongs, yeah.
So a thong isn't over here. A thong is basically a bikini.
Yeah. Well, not over here. We wear thongs on our feet over here. Yeah, I know another one that you guys know. We call them an esky, and you guys call them a what is it? A chili bin.
Chili bin. Yeah. Because you guys because Esky's like a brand, eh?
He's actually
a brand of chili bin.
And it just happened, we just call everything an Esky now, yep.
Yeah, that's right. It's like over here, we, do you know what I'm talking about if I say jib?
Say what?
If I say jib?
Spell it.
G-I-B.
No. Use it in a sentence?
We're going to line these walls with jib.
Nah.
So it's the same as the Esky thing. The main brand of plasterboard over here is jib.
Ah, right.
So everyone just calls it jib.
Ah, there you go.
But that's one of those things. That's one of those things you have to remember when you're posting on.
For sure.
Putting up a post that's going to get global sort of reach. You kind of got to call it plasterboard instead of jib, and you got to be conscious of it. Otherwise, no one around the world knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've actually I've seen comments on some of the posts that had a decent viewing in the States, and there's comments on there like, I have no idea what he said, but I thought it was funny. And to me, everything made perfect sense. And then you realise, there's a couple of words thrown in here and there that not many people know about.
Yeah.
What about tucker?
Yep. Yeah. Tucker's food.
Yeah, righto. Yeah, see, I feel like I came into this battle unarmed.
Yeah. There was one on social media the other day. Was that Larsie the Sparky was talking about her doona?
Oh, yeah, Donnelly, yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea what she was talking about.
Right, there you go. Yeah, the old blanket.
We call it a duvet.
Ah, duvet. Ooh.
A duvet. Yeah, very classy. We're still retaining our colonial classism.
Yep.
What else we got? What about a batch?
Batch.
You're gonna go and stay at the batch in the weekend.
Oh.
That's like a holiday home.
Is
By
it?
the beach.
Yeah, right.
A batch by the beach. What do you guys call that? Do you call it a crib or something?
No, we just call it, I don't know, a beach house. Mate, I live in Ipswich. No, an Airbnb, I think we call them. No, just a house on the beach.
Yeah. Oh, nice. We because we've got also a few of the sort of the slang that are sort of Māori terms.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Māori are, indigenous people in New Zealand.
Yep.
So you got moi. So I'm going to go and have a moi, which is having a sleep.
Oh, right.
And another one that obviously gets bandied around frequently is mahi, which is doing work. Going to go and do some mahi.
Yeah, right. There you go.
So if you're watching New Zealand accounts or whatever, or social media accounts, they'll probably use mahi quite a bit. Or there's a saying, do the mahi, get the treats. So you do the work, get the treats.
Yep. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
you. If we were scoring this, I would have just got smoked completely. Yeah, I had a feeling it'd go that way, but
I did use Google, and I messaged a couple of other tradie Instagrammers to get a few tips. So hey, it wasn't that fair a competition.
oh well, mate. I reckon we might wrap her up, And
Yep, absolutely.
be sure to let us know if, as you develop more and more on this mental health stuff, and I'll jump on there on my personal stuff as well, and try and help out however I can, and I'm sure TradeTools will too. They
Absolutely, yeah.
get behind anything trying to help people out. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Appreciate that.
no worries at all, mate. All right, Chris, it was a good chat, mate. Good to digitally meet you.
Absolutely. We're sort of trying to plan at least a holiday to Gold Coast or something to, because I've never actually been out of New Zealand, so.
Well, I've never been out of Australia. Yeah, right.
Oh, if you're ever in New Zealand, make sure you swing by Nelson.
Yeah.
We're called the centre of New Zealand, and we're the sunshine capital of New Zealand. So
Oh, look out.
we've got a few things going for us,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
mate. It's impressive. We like where we are. We're within about less than an hour's drive, and we're hitting some golden sand beaches. World-renowned beaches and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, I heard there's great fishing over in New Zealand, mate. So that's a big draw card for me.
Yep. You don't have to go far to get. You guys call it broom, eh? We call it snapper.
Oh no. We like snapper. Yeah, we call them snapper.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because the brim's more the juvenile, eh? Is that right?
So brim's a different breed.
Or is it-
They're
Is
all
that-
right
oh, okay.
eating, but yeah, I focus on the snapper and mulloway and stuff like that.
Oh, you can tell I don't really go fishing that much.
Yeah. Righto, mate. Well, it was a good chat.
All right.
Thanks for
Yeah.
opening up a bit too about that. I know,
No worries.
it's never easy.
I think it was a good time to do it. I sort of had to figure out my story over the past few months, really, just before I shared it. It's sort of,
Of course. Yeah.
so it was good timing, eh? And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, best of luck, mate. Hopefully you can work out how to, make it all tangible and get some balls rolling to help people out. That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right, Chris.
Cool.
I'll chat to you soon, mate.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all, mate. All right, see you later, mate.
See ya.
Well, there we have it. Another episode wrapped up, guys. I'd love to hear your feedback, and you can email me at tradio@tradetools.com or message the TradeTools social pages with any topics you'd like to hear about. And of course, be sure to hit the subscribe button to keep up to date. Until the next episode, see ya!